Hello? You're still muted. Hey, everybody.
So, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. I did want to talk about something though before we bring on our guests today. Um, you have boys, right? You have one boy, and the rest are
Yes,
girls.
yes.
And today we're talking about dads and parenting and all that fun stuff, and some, like kind of controversial stuff. But I want to know, why do boys smell? I went in my 11-year-old's room today and it smelled. Now, I have a candle going, a Scentsy candle going in there. I have cleaned up underneath his bed, made and watched him clean underneath his bed at times. I cannot get that boy smell out.
Well, I have some news to break to you. It's not just boys, girls smell too. When they hit a certain age range of puberty, it's at an all-time high of hormones and smells, and it's disgusting all the way around. It makes you question, like, when you were that age, if you smelled, like for real. Because I have boys and girls, and they're all teenagers, right? So they're all in this
Yeah.
like teen, and sometimes I'm like, what in the absolute is that? Like, what is that smell? So it
I
is not. It's not. It goes all the way around.
I like just walk past him sometimes and I'm like, you need to shower. And they're like, well, I showered yesterday. You need to shower again and maybe try and wash with soap. I just don't
Yeah.
get it.
No, it's
I
a
don't remember my
hormonal
brother's
thing.
smelling. I had
It's
two
a
brothers. I
hormonal
don't remember.
thing.
But I don't remember my
But
brother
see, at
smelling.
that
Maybe
age,
that's
you weren't paying attention. You probably weren't paying attention to that type of stuff either.
I mean, the only smell that came out of him is when they'd wake up in the morning and there'd be like a whole like gas of farts and stuff like that because it was like seriously a marching band in their room. But I just don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna handle it because this is only one and I got three more coming.
Yeah.
What am I gonna do? I'm gonna move out. I'm gonna get my own condo, my own place, and
First
because
of
I'm not
all, the
handling.
best thing to do too for bedrooms is making sure that they're washing their sheets at least twice a week. That holds a lot of smell. The pillowcases, all of that. I'm not even kidding.
I'm gonna have to do that. Which, if Joe is watching right now, he'll be real excited about that because he does the laundry because of my back. I can't carry it down the stairs.
Oh, but you
So
have an
he's
11-year-old girl. She can do the laundry. She is.
um, I'd,
Yeah,
I'd like my washing machine to still work at the end of the day.
it'll
I'm not
work. You just have to teach them. You have to teach them. All of my kids were doing their own laundry by like the age of 9.
really
Yeah,
okay.
I'm not even kidding you. I'm like, get it together. Let me show you how to wash whites, and I'm going to show you how to wash darks, anything in between. I'm going to show you how to wash that later. You start them with whites and darks first, you know,
Yeah,
and then move forward. But yeah, they were unloading dishwashers. We just had this conversation because my daughter was like, "Are you going to make the baby like do dishes at 4?" Because I used to make her help load and unload the dishwasher at 4.
yeah.
And everybody's like, "That's too young." I was like, "No, the hell it's not. She's unloading and loading dishwasher at 4."
I think like the more children you have, the lenient you get. I mean, like Max, Alex, who was on here, he used to have to like do yard work. He had my mom one time, he got in trouble. He had to build her a raised garden out there in the middle of the summer because he got
I
in
mean,
trouble
but
in
I
August.
I parent with old school values though. Like I'm huge on that. I don't do anything new age, like oh everybody wins type thing. No, because losing builds character, and teaching your kids a little bit of hard work goes a long way. So I'm definitely like an old school valued parent. That is my parenting style.
I feel that that's how I kind of am too. But my mom, I thought she was, but my younger brother, she did his laundry at
Yeah.
like he was she was still doing his laundry when he was getting ready to move out until he like signed his lease or his
Yeah, no.
he signed the papers to buy his house. My dad had already his truck packed with all my brother's shit to go over to his house.
I'm sure he did.
He's like,
I'm
he's
sure
not
he
coming
did.
back. Me, on the other hand, my dad would always let me come back. My mom, not so much. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's get on to subject. And we right now are going to have to put one dad on the hot seat because my husband had to work. He got called in. And the other guys are having technical difficulties getting in. One was in and now he's gone. I don't know what's going on. So he might come in a little bit. But let's introduce Quincy Hardgrove. And I think Tori is now here. Oh, good. So Tori is going to be coming up too. So Quincy's not so much in the hot seat, even though I'm going to tell a quick story before we pull Quincy up. He used to be my trainer. And I was drinking one night and I was drunk and I text him, "Is sex exercise?" He said no.
Oh my God. I swear.
He
Don't
said no.
do it.
And I said, "Well, I don't think you're doing it right then." And I ended up having an extra 2 miles to run the next day. So I've known Quincy since middle school.
Well, he's going to be in the hot seat, and I have questions to ask about this now.
All right. Let's pull Quincy up and let's pull up Tori. Hi, guys. Tori, could you turn your phone the other way?
How are y'all doing today?
They need to unmute themselves because I can't.
Oh, yeah, you're muted. You guys are all muted.
There we go. There we
You're
go.
muted, Tori.
Follow directions well, right?
So, Tori, we need you to unmute yourself.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good, good. I'm glad to see that you were able to make it. We're having some technical difficulties.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
I will let Elaine start because she now has a few questions for Mr. Hardgrove.
I would like to start with them introducing themselves. Announcing themselves who they are. Okay. So I'll go ahead and pick Quincy. Go ahead, Quincy. Tell us just a little bit about yourself. How many kids you have, what you do for a living if you want to disclose that, and are you actively co-parenting? Are you married? Like how is that parenting style right now?
Oh, okay, no problem. Well, yeah, like you said, I'm Quincy. Everybody calls me Q. I currently live in Atlanta, Georgia. I work for a police department down here. I got 3 kids that are for sale at the right price. No, I'm just kidding. So, love my kids.
I'll trade you a boy for a girl. I just want one girl.
I don't know. My girl's pretty awesome. She's gonna make sure I don't go to an old folks home when I get older. So
that's everybody's dream is to not go to the old people's home, huh?
Hey, those boys gonna take whatever inheritance is there, and they gonna forget about that. My daughter, she gonna make sure I'm okay. So,
I look at my kids all the time. I look at my kids all the time and point. I'm like, you're taking care of me. Don't let them.
Right. Yep. You know it. So, but yeah, actively co-parenting. You know, I mean, it's easier the longer you go. But I know everybody's pace.
Molly says hello.
Someone said hello to you. That's really good. Okay, so we'll get right back to you because I have questions, but we're going to go ahead and introduce Tori also. So, hey Tori, how are you doing? You have your mic on mute, love, by the way, before you start talking. So just go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself. We know you have kids and you're a dad. So tell us just a little bit about what you do for work then.
Well, I'm an advocate. I got a human and civil rights organization, Justice Wisconsin, and I try to keep my family life very private due to the fact that I do a lot of things against people that may not like it. Put a lot of people behind bars for messing with innocent life. It is what it is. What I really would love for people to know is that when you have children, you have an obligation to set the standard and be a role model for them. I don't know my dad. I was left on the curb when I was 2 years old. So I want to be a dad because I never seen my mother and father ever at the same time in no space. So with me, as far as me dealing with my children, I just make sure that I leave a legacy behind for them. So my goal is to make sure that they have an example of a father that loved them and that they can depend and come to their father for whatever. So to me, I concentrate on when I'm not in the community, when I'm not traveling. I really cater to the needs of, especially my girls. I have a few girls, and um, it's just amazing to see how they have, how they interpretate what I do when they see me on television or when they see me on the newspaper. It's like they go to school and they talk about, like, for show and tell. They get to do that, and I think that's amazing because my dad, my dad is an artist, an abstract artist. Like, I met my dad on Instagram this year, like over a year ago, and he has his whole page is full of abstract art, and I didn't know my daddy was an artist. So it was important to me to make sure that I left a legacy for my children that, that my dad didn't leave for me.
For sure. For sure.
You
Well,
being
I just want to, oh, go ahead, Melissa.
you being in the community and you wanting to be there for your children, there are a lot of children out there that don't have a father that even cares. Do you tend to pick up those kids when you see them and you get a relationship with them to help ease the pain a little of their parents not being there?
A good that you asked that question because it was a minister that did me like that. He saw something in me. He took me to church with him. I became a deacon, so I give that back. So when I see children that doesn't have a father figure, I pass it forward. What this guy named Tim Rogers, he was able to take me in, and he got Parent of the Year at my high school graduation. So it was crazy that a stranger just took me in. So I do that a lot. I got plenty of children that are not my biological children that I call mine.
For sure. That's awesome. So, with that being said, I kind of want to bring both of them up on there so we can bring everybody on. And I wanted to personally thank both of you guys for coming on here and speaking about fatherhood because I know there's like a huge stigma. I was talking to Melissa prior to us starting this show, and I was like overly excited about this show because you don't always hear dads talking about how they feel about parenting. And then I was talking to her and I was like, when it comes to like the community, urban community, Latin, Black, like people always assume like there's no dad active all of the time. It's like an assumption that's like always there. Whenever the mom shows up to take the kids to school, or if the dad shows up and the mom's not present, and people see Caucasian children and they automatically assume that both parents are in there. You know what I mean? And it's just like a stigma that kind of sticks with our cultures. It's a stigma that sticks with our cultures that like either the kids are just being raised by mom or by grandma or, and that's not always the case. So this is why I was like overly excited to have not only dads, but a couple of African-American dads on here to be able to speak about fatherhood. So thank you guys for coming on here.
Yes. I mean, I thank you for putting yourself out there because putting yourself out there about what is wrong with today and society in general of how we treat Black males, Hispanic males, minority males in general. I've seen it. I didn't see it growing it up because I am very Caucasian looking, but my father is Hispanic. And I could tell you stories that my parents told me that happened to them in the 70s of what they were dealing with. And I feel like we are doing this today. Now, another question I have, and this really pertains to you more than it did the other group. What do you think that society today has to change with the new young males and females in in general to make life better for you and safer for you?
Can you bring everyone on, Melissa,
Yep.
so that way
I
if
was
Quincy
just gonna
talks,
do
we
that.
can see him too?
Yes.
Is that a question for me?
Both of you. Because in a way, you both are coming from the opposite ends of the spectrum. You are an advocate, Tori, and Q is in law enforcement. And he's in law enforcement, and I know this from
Well,
speaking with him, that he is there to make a change.
I would say, not to cut you off, Tori, jumping in. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yep, we can
Yeah,
hear you
you
now.
sound way better now.
Okay, good. My technology isn't as fancy since I left AT&T, so I might have to catch up a little
Okay.
bit on my AirPods. I would say what I've noticed is just accountability. It is a major part of everything. I try to teach my kids to be very accountable. You know what I mean? For lack of better words, I mean, excuse my French, but learn how to eat shit. You know, if you mess up, you got to own it. You know what I mean? Like, especially in law enforcement, the first thing they tell you when you get into law enforcement, especially for the people that listen, is, hey, we can take care of a lot of stuff in this job, but you have to be honest. A lot of times when police officers get fired, it's because they haven't been honest. You know, I mean, at some point down the line when they get fired, you can get demoted down to, parking ticket guy, but if you lie, 99% of places don't tolerate that. So I just try to put that, into my personal life. Like, hey, just be accountable. I mean, if you mess up, own it. We can fix it. I'm a big advocate of self-reporting. If I mess something up, I go to my superiors like, hey, you know what? Let me tell you what I did. But it's coming from me. It's not coming from, Susie Q at, Channel 5 News. So now we can either get in front of it, fix it, tell it with a softer landing blow. But, I would say accountability, not to get too long-winded, but just being accountable, and having an outlet for the kids to do things. Because there's not a lot of stuff for kids to do back when we were little, remember thinking when we were in middle school, there was tons of stuff to do, like skate town,
The checkerboard.
Yeah, there was tons of stuff. They had sleepovers at the Y, you know what I mean? There was just tons of stuff to do. So, and even, you've seen it at the fitness studio, back home. Like, we give kids an outlet of things to do so that you don't have time to get in trouble, and I want to give my buddy Tori some time to talk too. But a cool thing, I ran into a older sergeant today, and if somebody's under 21, instead of giving them a ticket for certain offenses, he keeps their ID and say, hey, you're going to come to my CrossFit studio and work out for an hour. Otherwise, I'm going to write you this ticket. 90% of the kids show up, and about 80% of them stay because now they have something to do. So just accountability and giving these kids something to do, I think, would be major, and just changing a lot of stuff that's going on today.
Yeah. I mean, Tori, please chime in on your side of the spectrum.
He's completely right, Brother Hargrove. Hargrove is completely right. The children have to have activities, and they have to have strong figures in their life, people that they can listen to at time of questions with peer pressure, and they need to have decent people with reasonable logic to talk to. And right now you have the gang idea, the G code ideas out here, the whole culture that's out here. You have we don't have a huge religious base among the youth. Like when we were younger, we had a pastor or a minister that we can talk to. Now the church is almost it's no rules, it's no moral base. I'm seeing that the moral base that we built where we was coming up is not there for these last couple generations. They don't trust the church like that. A lot of them are shooting the church up now. We to think about actually bringing a gun to church when we was coming up was like almost
non-existent.
Non-existent. Now it's like they popping off at the funeral, at the churches. It's like the fabric, the moral base is not there. And without a moral base, it's no rules or ideas to govern your decision making. So we have to start implementing at least an idea that can help with the moral idea to govern when you have to make a decision. When we were making a decision, we was making it off of a moral base. Like, my grandmother go to church or this and that. And now this new generation is like, it's whatever. It's like they don't have that moral guidance. And we have to start working to get that back on top of our community. Because right now, from what I see, it's no rules. It's no way to judge your thought process because there's no base unless it's a gang culture, unless it's hoe culture, or unless it's like they'll go to people who may not have another moral base to get some advice, and it just is blowing up in our faces right now with this new generation.
Is with this new generation, I mean, speaking from in general, I grew up with a Hispanic father, a very Hispanic father, and went by Hispanic rules with his daughter, not so much with his sons. But my mom is German and I have her skin tone. How is it somebody that has a different skin tone like me? Because they look at me and they think, well, that's just a white bitch. Like, what is she doing here? How can I help the next generation? I have 4 boys coming up, and 2 of them look Mexican and 2 of them are questionable. We're not sure what happened to their parents or where they're coming from, but they're questionable. And if they didn't look exactly like one didn't look like my uncle and was a twin, we wouldn't know. You wouldn't know that they were related. I want to know what I can do when I go into the community with their friends and, how I can help make things better as a mother because I worry about their lives.
I would say I'll inject. Only thing you can do is make sure when you make contact with these young people is to give them some principle. Like when you talk to them, give them a quote from somebody. Give them knowledge. Like I learned that if I make quotes to people, they take it better. Like if I say like, hey, like the golden rule is, this and that. Or if I say the Bible says this and that, they'd be like, oh, because they had never read it. So I would just take quotes and feed it to them, and then they'll digest that, and they'll be like, then the next I see them again, and they forget we had the conversation, and they'll say it back to me, and I'll be like, okay, all right, and they don't even know where they got it from because they digesting so much information with social media that the next time I check up on them, I'll try to get them back to the space to see what happened, and they'll be like, man, I don't do that because, and they'll regurgitate what I said. And sometimes I believe that when you tell somebody what to do, they're going to do exactly that. Like I learned to never tell nobody what not to do because they will go do it. So the trick is to give them some knowledge and let them take that knowledge and cipher it however they're going to cipher it. But 9 times out of 10, if you give them the knowledge that they need to have at that moment, they will soak that in and kind of come out with the right idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't tell people what to do.
Right.
You can only give them knowledge is power. So whatever Bible scripture you have, whatever book you read, whatever good saying that fits that situation, that's what you got to tell them. Because then they'll run with it.
I have to bring this up. This is my mother-in-law, the 10 Commandments. If I didn't bring it up, I would.
First of all, the 10 Commandments were wrote before Jesus, and this is when you cussed and you were going to hell. So
Right. Hey, you're not wrong.
Okay, so I just would like to just bring up the fact that at least now I can say, please just forgive me for just saying that to that lady, and then I still got that chance, okay? But I do want to kind of ask you guys a few fatherhood questions that kind of stem from, just parenting styles and stuff. Do you agree with the new age parenting style on some of the things? Even it stems all the way out into sports. Oh, we don't take score anymore, everybody wins. Or, you know, oh, you can't discipline your kids or anything like that. Like what do you, because truth be told, parenting style from when we were growing up, like you were speaking on, versus now, according even street code has changed. Like how you know, the stuff that you were talking about. Like back in the day, you didn't shoot up mamas, girls, kids, stuff like that. Y'all handled beef between each other. Now you got to worry about, you know, if somebody's at you, now you got to worry about being in the car with your kids because nobody gives a damn about that anymore. Like, oh, so I mean, with all of that going on and like new age discipline, because I mean, I've been like I have a hard time with it myself as a mom with like new age stuff because I parent old school. Like my parenting is completely old school. Like you about to clean the house on your hands and knees on the floor with me. Like you're learning how to cook, you're learning how to clean, you're learning all of that. You mess up, you are getting disciplined. I'm not going to cuss at your teacher because your teacher told me that you did something wrong. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so how do you parent? Do you parent more new age or more like how you were taught?
I would say for me, I probably parent. I know I parent with more old school values, but I realized at a really young age as a younger parent that there was some things I wanted to do better than I
Mm-hmm.
was taught. You know, so a perfect example. I tell people all the time. You know, I've my oldest is 21, my youngest is 14, and I've never put a belt to any of them, not a shoe, nothing. But when you see them out with me, it's almost like military precision. My daughter never leaves my side. She doesn't touch doorknobs, door handles. Her brother opened the doors, you know, and I've never, you know,
I feel like that works for y'all a lot more for men.
yeah,
Let me tell you, when a man raises a voice, it's like everybody's like, "Oh, okay, we're
yeah,
good." For me, I'm like, "No, I will chase after you in this house.
right, you know, and
Don't
that's
make me catch you." You know.
I got in with that chancla. I'm telling you, I might look like a white mama, but I will come after you.
you know, but just the same things that my parents did. I still use, or my mother did, and my grandparents, because kind of same situation. My father wasn't around in the beginning. He had a substance abuse problem. Now he's good, you know, thanks to stars, but he wasn't around when I was younger. So, you know, I always wanted to be there for my kids because my father wasn't there. So I wanted to switch it up. My grandfather was there. He worked for
And
Chrysler for 44 years and worked for St. Luke's Hospital for 22. So all I know is get up and go to work. You know, I
Yeah.
don't get tired. I'll sleep when I'm dead. That's literally my mentality, you know, and that's what my kids see. But I also take them to the bank with me when, you know, I go do transactions for my fitness studio or for my consulting company. You know, there was nothing taught to me about, you know, financial worthiness when I was younger. It was just go to work and go make your money. It wasn't taught anything outside of that. So my kids like, hey, this is how credit works. This is why you don't go sign up for 12 credit cards, you know, right when you get out of high school. Like I'm teaching them things that were never taught to me because I want them to be better than me, you know. So
I
you,
do
I do agree with that.
mm-hmm,
I do want to make a comment though. There's a difference between getting a spanking and
mm-hmm.
beating your child.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
Because
you know. I,
I just I just swatted my 2-year or 3-year old, and it was all it was is like a and
A
you heard
beating, a beating comes out of anger, though. When you're
yeah,
beating somebody, that's out of anger. When you're disciplining your child, you do it out of love because you don't want them to go on the wrong track. So
yeah,
discipline, if you feel heated at that moment, is kind of the moment that you have to step back for a second and be like, hold on a second. Like
yeah,
let me take a deep breath before I approach this because I have all teenagers mostly. Well, I have a 2-year-old, but she's
yeah.
right now all she does is get her hands popped all the time because she's always touching some stuff. But I talk to her too. You know what I mean? So I feel like talking. How is your parenting style, Tori?
Well, I got blessed with a good son. His mom died from lupus, and I had to raise him from fourth grade going into fifth grade to now he's married. But I was always very challenging, and I always say this. I always say, do not embarrass the family. Like I drive it in their heads, like it's only us, and do not embarrass the family. make sure that what you do represents our family. And if and most kids take that on, take great pride in it, to have that you give them that responsibility to take great pride in their family structure. And if you do it early enough, they will grow up thinking like, hey, like we gotta, this is our family. We have to take great pride in it. A lot of people don't look at discipline as a way, they react to what happened. What I do is I do preventative ideas like, hey, we don't practice that. Like, we don't practice that in our family. Like, I give them the ability to take honor in the family structure that they have. And it seems to work because they'll get into it with each other, but they don't take that outside. You know what I mean? It's amazing to see that, how when you give them the responsibility to take honor, anytime you can give somebody, a child, take honor in something, they run with it. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people just raise their children and just be like, don't do this, don't do that, or you're going to get in trouble for this, or you're going to get in trouble for that. But what I did was I challenged them to have respect for the family.
I agree with that.
And
Melissa
then
actually
they take
talks
that and do
about
whatever
that.
they want.
You actually are like that a lot, Melissa. You have like great honor and pride with your family.
Yes. Well, even going back with my dad's family and my mom's family, I can go back. My grandfather from my mom's side wrote a book, and I know my lineage to the 1600s. On my dad's side, not so much, because I mean they were farm workers. They were migrant workers, but I do know the stories that I heard. And I just found pictures of my great grandmother and my great grandfather. And I know my heritage and where I came from. And I would never want to shame them. Even though they're buried in Mound Cemetery, I would never want to shame them and put a bad name on our family because of something I did. I would be devastated with myself. And I'm afraid of my father. I mean, I'm 39 years old and I love my dad. I am a daddy's girl. But he's the only one that can still tell me what to do. Ask Joe. He calls him all the time, so I'm to not have me knock it off. It's because of how he treated me, but it's good to have your children have a little bit of fear.
Oh yeah, that's a great thing, and what the saying is, you hustle for my last name, not my first. And I'll just tell you a real quick story. I remember when I was younger, everywhere I used to go with my grandfather, everybody called him Mr. Hargrove. Hey, how you doing, Mr. Hargrove? How you doing this? So even his brothers, now he's the oldest, of course, so even his brothers call him Mr. Hargrove. So I remember, man, I can't wait till they call me Mr. Hargrove. Like I was just like, I just couldn't wait till they called me Mr. Hargrove, but I didn't understand why. I just know I wanted to be like my grandpa. You know what I mean? Then I understood it when I got older. It was a sign of respect. He put that work in to get that Mr. in front of his last name. He went to work. He took care of his family. He took care of family when he probably wasn't supposed to take care of family. He helped out other people's family. He never wronged anybody. You know what I mean? So I understood it as I got older. Like, I just couldn't wait to be called Mr. Hargrove. My bike club name is Mr. Hargrove. You know what I mean? Because it's like, we can't call you nothing else but that, because I try to, live up to my grandfather. But, like Tori said, is a certain way things should be done, and having honor, in that last name, in your name, you should want that, your kids should understand that. Oh, every time we go somewhere with dad, oh, everybody knows you, dad. Well, it's because I tried in my lifetime, especially in high school, when you start becoming yourself, don't wrong nobody. You're going to make mistakes, but don't intentionally wrong nobody, because that's not fair.
Right.
So I try to give my kids that same knowledge. Be you, but don't wrong nobody, and don't do what you see everybody else doing. I know that's the cool thing, because, as parents, it's just us and maybe our spouse or our partner telling our kids, hey, don't do that because of this. But then you turn around and go to school and you got hundreds of kids saying, hey, let's smoke this, let's do that, let's go. And that's tough for a kid. So you have to give them a reason on why they shouldn't do something. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
you know, like Tori said, give them some honor, you know, give them a reason to have some honor, and they will definitely run with it 100%, you know.
Right. Now, I know, Tori, you have one child that the mother has passed. You have other children also? Are you with their mother or are you not? And for both of you, Q and Tori, how do you show your children how to relate to their mother? Like, how are your relationship with the mother of your children, even when you don't agree? Because, oh, and I just want to put, I tell all of my friends, especially my man-hating single friends that hate their baby daddies, you liked that man for 5 minutes at least. It took you 5 minutes to take off your clothes, lay down with them, and get
Maybe
the
two.
baby. Yeah. Well, you got to take off the clothes first. That's why I give it 5.
5 minutes, that's amazing. 60 assassin. I ain't got 5 minutes. I ain't got
So, I mean, you had to have liked them for 5 minutes. So you have to remember that every time you're dealing with this and you're dealing with this child.
Well, I'll answer that question.
Yeah,
I'm
you
very
first
good
on that
friends
one.
with the mother of my children. And when we decided to not talk, we never involved the kids in that. The kids should never see what adults are doing. Matter of fact, I do believe that if, let's say, you have a child with somebody and it don't work out, the children, no matter if it didn't work out or not, that person's still going to be in your life for the rest of your life. And that is a relationship that will never end once you have a child with somebody. So I like when Quincy Jones was introduced and his family was introduced, and his wife and his ex-wife were all eating together and had all of this stuff. Like, he really made it a point to keep the family intact. So when I started having children, and my relationships would last for like 8 years, be honest with you. I was like my grandmother. I think I stayed in relationships too long, to be honest. Like, I mean,
You're serial monogamous.
all right,
I've been
I'll
there.
be honest with you. Like, I think I took after my grandmother, but these new age ideas, it could get tricky.
I
But
agree with that. I agree
but the
with that.
thing
New
is,
age is definitely different for relationships.
well, the times have changed, and the thing that I want people to know is that that person that you had a child with is gonna be in your family forever. Especially if you have a child with them, because even with the discipline and even with dealing with the child, that person is still influencing your child. And I hate when people call me and say, oh, this person doing such and such, and to my child, and I'm like, who is the person? They be like, well, that's the father. I'm like, what? Why are you calling me about their daddy? Like, you call me like this person was a foster parent. You know what I mean? You know, this is the daddy. So y'all need to work that out. Y'all, I'm really big on people, adults, finding solutions, because when it comes to your children, you have to put your ego or whatever issue to the side.
Yep.
And some people can't do that. Some people have so much hatred for this person that they want to see this person completely destroyed, whether through in real life or through the children, destroy their idea with their children. And this
You
is
know, the part
terrible.
of that, though, Tori, just to kind of touch base on that, what people don't realize that do that is that no matter how much of a piece of crap the mom or the dad is, that you're trying to tell, you know, you're trying to keep your child away for certain reasons, they don't understand that, for one. They don't understand that they love that person. They love that person too. So when people try to completely just bash and destroy like that, what they actually do is they're hurting their kids. And people don't understand that, is that they're hurting their kids.
And they're
And
hurting themselves. That
and
they're hurting themselves because that person that you was with is a reflection of your decision making.
Right. And when you get into a relationship with
Facts.
somebody,
That's facts. I hate when people
Big.
say that oh, that is so facts right there. I swear.
So when you
You
telling
are
people,
what you attract.
so when
Preach,
you
brother Torrey, preach.
hold on, when you telling people what's bad about that person, and you calling this person all kinds of names, that's a reflection on you.
You look stupid.
Yeah, you actually.
You look
Why did you
stupid.
even go to
Why
like
were
I
you
said?
with them?
So when
Yeah.
people bash their significant other or the father of their children or the mother of their children, it tells me a lot about them.
Facts. That's true
That's
too. I
information
do
about.
look for that. I do look for that when I'm going to people's pages for interviews and stuff like that. I do look for that because you'll never be able. You'll never be able to go on there and see me bash any one of them. Okay, like I never ever, because for one, that's something that will always be there. Two, those were my choices at that point in time. I was what I attracted. You know what I mean? You are what you attract. So if you
oh, I
keep
like that.
attracting the wrong people, you keep attracting them, and you keep attracting them. What are you giving off that's allowing these people to be attracted to that?
And also, you have
They
to think
want that thug life.
the other part that I don't get is when people, because I'm a married mother of 5. I inherited a son that was 3 years old. I was 20 years old when I met my husband. He was
They're
30.
called bonus children.
Yeah. I love that little boy, and I knew it was going to be hard when I took him in and I decided that I was going to be with his father, that he was part of the package. Now, I have seen my cousins, I've seen friends, so many of them where one of their parents has decided to get married again or had a relationship with someone, and they don't accept them. And I don't understand that. I can't get my mind through that concept, because if you want to be with that person, their children is part of that person.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
So how is it? Go ahead, Lynn.
No, I was going to ask you about that. When you guys first started dating, how long was it till Joe let you meet his son?
3 days.
Because he's a guy. Is that like so?
Yep. No.
No, he knew right away that
knew that.
he wanted to marry me. I was engaged when I met Joe. I was engaged to somebody else, and I knew I was going to marry Joe. I was not going to marry that person that I was with. I knew this was going to be my husband. And you know what's kind of funny? We didn't get together for another year. He had no idea who I was until one night Alex had a concert, who was here on Wednesday, and I had Joe invited. And I was like, I am not leaving until I get his attention. And I got his attention because I knew I wanted to marry him. And I told his
I've
mom,
never
like,
had a story like that, so I'm listening to this, and I've never had a story like that.
Well, a man knows what he can when he see a woman, how far he's gonna go with her. You know, he knows.
Yeah.
He kind of have an idea. And like I said, when I got married to my oldest son's mother, I knew that she was gonna be my wife. The first day of freshman year in school, she was my high school sweetheart. Like I knew when I walked into North Division that, man, I said I didn't even I knew it. I knew it. I felt it. You know what I mean?
He said,
And
that's mine.
I understand it, and you know it is what it is. You just get that vibe. But
Have you
once
had that vibe, Quincy?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
he knows.
that's a lion.
The person I'm dating now, like I knew right away, like yeah. I got to be honest, I was kind of nerdy in high school. I was like a cool kid that didn't know he was a cool kid. Like I was a varsity athlete.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
he
I'm
was.
one of those like.
But you were nice.
Yeah, I hang
You
out
weren't
with
a dick
Melissa
about
on
it.
Tuesday. I hang out with, the punk rock kid on Thursday, the hood boys on Friday,
Yep.
and I wouldn't let nobody talk about that was me, like legit in high school. So like I didn't know, like, I know I'm cute. I look like my mom. I didn't realize this till like later after high school, which got me in a little bit of trouble. But yeah, when I met the person I'm dating, I knew, like, oh, yeah.
I think he got me out a couple fights too.
Oh, 100%. I don't play that. If you rock,
That's all Melissa's fault, though, right? You got to keep it real because I know Melissa.
Yeah, I was a fighter.
100%. But here's the thing: it goes back to, like, birds of a feather. It wasn't one of those where it was like malicious intent. It was one of those like, who is this white girl talking crazy? Like, whoa, hold on. First of all, her color don't matter. Second of all, she ain't white. You know what I mean? Third of all, it don't matter because what she's saying is right. You just don't want to hear it in the delivery tone that she's giving it to you. But you still ain't
Yeah.
gonna put hands on her. You know what I mean? Because
But I wasn't afraid of anybody, and I would just take
nobody.
anybody out.
Yeah, she was afraid of nobody. Still to this day, she's afraid of nobody. I trained her for a while. She's probably the only one that would come in talking reckless to me, and I'm like, "Hold on, it's my son." You know what I mean? So, but
I
no,
did a lot of running.
a lot of running, a lot of running. In context, we were trying to get her back better. So,
Yeah, it
but
was.
no, like, yeah, definitely, yeah. You know, I mean, hindsight is 2020. Especially, we realize that the older we get, but you might want to ignore it for some silly mess, but when you meet that one, you know what I mean. And it's just like, how long are you going to ignore it for? And is it going to be too late?
Yeah.
So, but you know,
I do have a question for you guys since we're talking about relationships. Is there a difference between how you parent boys versus girls in your eyes?
I've been told I'm a little tougher on my daughter, but I'm not. I say this all the time, and it's really true. My daughter acts just like me. She don't play no games. You're not gonna get her with banana in the tailpipe. You know what I mean? I tell her all the time she's smarter than me. You know what I mean? So I don't worry about her. It's those boys I worry about. I don't worry about my daughter because she's just like her father. She has the same attitude. She's cool with everybody. She's just like I was in middle school, Melissa, like to the T. Those
Is she?
boys, those boys, and the boys know they're cool kids. That's what worries me. You know what I mean? Like little Q, he wants to be a cop. He wants to ride motorcycles. He wants to work. He wants to do everything I do. You know what I mean? He got all these people calling his phone. I just had to educate the kids the other day about this Snapchat thing they're always using. I'm like, look, that stuff doesn't disappear. I can take you down to the PD and show you a machine where we can pull it all up. You know what I mean? So don't think that stuff disappears. They just think, oh, it's Snapchat and it disappears. No, it doesn't. Going back to what we said earlier, be careful about what you're doing. You know what I mean? Don't do what other kids are doing.
I do want to comment on that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because I've already had a teenager go through me,
Mm-hmm.
um, with girls, you worry about one. With boys, you worry about all the other girls.
Mm-hmm.
And I told I think he was 15, that if he gets pregnant or gets somebody pregnant before I was done getting pregnant, I'm going to castrate him. So then I had him babysit the twins when they were probably like 2 months old with his girlfriend. And I come home and he's not wearing a shirt. Her hair's all messed up. I'm like, what the fuck's going on? And he said, I'm sick of them throwing up on him. And he goes, you have laundry. And then she goes, do they ever sleep? I said, right before you got here. He's 24. I still am not a grandmother. And I'm not done having kids. Sorry, Mom.
All I'm gonna say is when it comes to boys, I think I was a wrestler and a boxer and a track person. So I'm on top of my boys all day. We got this saying, "You gonna get beat up." We at it. I want them to be tough as nails. When I
I
come
put
to
my girls in boxing gloves. So
I mean, I believe if you teach your child how to defend themselves, they don't get bullied.
Yeah.
The first thing I want to do is teach my son and my daughters is how to fight, like how to box. The basic 1, 2, 1, 2, 3 combinations. That's good enough for them at a young age because most kids are not throwing punches in combinations. So I teach them how to defend themselves so they're not walking around in fear. So nobody can ever gain an advantage of them on them mentally because they're scared. So that helped me with my son because he was never scared or influenced by anybody out of fear,
Yeah.
And so I believe the first thing we should do with boys and girls is teach them how to protect themselves. Because when they go off into the public, into the school, you don't know what's going on. You don't know who's trying to gain a mental advantage on them through fear. And like I said, it's very important for them to be more afraid of me than some bully.
Yeah.
So what I do is I make sure that my children know how to fight. Like, not to go and beat somebody up, but if somebody come at them, they're gonna have hell on their hands.
That's right.
And that will help them mentally to be able to make clear decisions, because most children, when they're coming up, they make decisions out of fear.
Yeah.
Whether girl or a guy can come up to her, be like, "You gonna be with me? You gonna be my girlfriend?" And you ain't, the aggression is actually super super aggressive. These peer pressure can bust a pipe. So what you want to do is equip your children with the ability to protect themselves. Then that gives them confidence to make better decisions. I think that's just me.
I talk to my kids about peer pressure all the time. I'm not raising no followers.
Right,
No followers. Nothing. No followers.
But what I'm saying is some people make decisions out of fear.
Yeah.
Like when I'm an advocate. So when I get to situations, I'll be like, why did you do that? And they'll be like, because I was scared.
Yep, it's always the answer.
Like the number one response. And so by me knowing that, when I had children, I made sure that if they're gonna give you all hell, like if you come at them and it's unfavorable, you're going to get it. And usually when you're in the 4th grade, in the 5th grade, all you gotta do is make a few examples out of a few kids, and your reputation is made after a few fights. You know what I mean? But what I'm saying is, am I harder on my boys? I just want my boys to be mentally strong and tough. So yes, I'm very, because I don't want them to be out here with their pants sagging. I don't want them to start smoking weed. I don't want them to be out here on drugs, listening to the Migos, listening to this music out here. The music is way more aggressive than it ever has been. And with the girls, I don't want them out here, and when they're not around me, listening to Cardi B and whole culture, this is things that they face when they're away from us.
I feel like and this is how I raise my boys. I was brought up by hippies, peace, love, and harmony. Mm-hmm. And as much as a scrapper, like as a scrapper I was, and getting into fights and arguments, my mom was like, never, ever, ever do you lay your hands on anything. I tell my boys that if someone touches you or someone's bullying you, you protect yourself. Because I got picked on a lot because of it. But when I did start sticking up for myself, that's when shit changed.
So my mom and my grandma had this thing, like, because there were a lot of us, right? I mean, we were like the Hispanic family, so there was a whole bunch of us, right? Everybody had a lot of kids. My grandma used to tell me, because we all had a time where we lived in the same vicinity around my grandma. And she used to tell us, if you get into a fight and you come home and I heard that you lost the fight, I'm going to beat your ass. This is like, she was really like that too. And I was more afraid of my grandma whooping my ass when I got home than me fighting a 9th grader in 5th grade, or than me, you know what I mean? Like, it was more like, I was more afraid of my grandma than anything else. So when it came down to me sticking up for myself or anything like that, it was never questionable. And I teach my kids the same way, Tori. I really do. I teach them the exact same way. But I will have to say this, and I have to go against what Melissa said here, because Melissa said that with girls, you only worry about one. That might have been the case back in the day, but the way these girls are getting down nowadays, I don't just worry about one. I worry, being a hoe is glorified. Like, it's so glorified now to be such a down. Like, back in the day, if you did dirty shit, you lied about it because you was embarrassed. Now girls come out here and they are like, it's like, oh yeah, I sucked this and I did this and that. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's cool now. You're on a good level because that's what you're supposed to do. But no, like with girls, it's like you have to worry about girls just as much as boys, because girls,
you have to worry about one pregnancy at a time. That's what I meant. You have to worry about one pregnancy at a time with a girl.
Yep.
Boys, they can get 6 people pregnant in the same goddamn month if they're lucky. But I'll kill my kids. You better not be coming home with 6 baby mamas.
I feel like a hard thing that a lot of parents don't realize is that when you are naive to the fact that your kids might act different than what they do when they're in front of you, is when there's a problem. when you learn that your kids are going to be just a little different outside of you, but how different are they being? You know what I mean? Like, what have you instilled and what have you planted inside of them, so that way when they are away from you, they might act a little different. They might play around a little bit more and be less, more goofy. But how much have you implanted in there for them to go out into the world? Because I talk to my girls all the time. I have more girls than boys. I have one boy and I have 3 girls, right? So I talk to my girls all the time about being hoes, because I'm like, once you can't lie. When you see the girl that was like getting down back in high school, you still be like, what was that one whole ass girl from high school? And you're like, in your 40s or 50s, that never goes away. Once you're labeled like that, it like never goes away. So then
I'm
as
the
you're
type
trying
of mom that will text them. Like my oldest brought a girl over, and they were in the bedroom right next to us. And I'm on my phone. I'm like, do you need a Christmas present condom? Like, you ain't getting nobody pregnant.
that's
Like,
not happening in my house. You
I
sit
will
your ass in
drive
the
under the door. He was 21. Like, what was I supposed to do? He's an adult.
Don't have sex in my house. You better go on to the backyard and sneak through an alley or something. You
All
ain't
right,
doing
look,
that
look,
shit in
look,
my
look. All
house.
right, look. Hold on. First of all, it only takes 30 seconds to have sex. It's not all drawn and
Right.
laid out.
That's why
So
you should be in the living room with me.
Hold on. It's gonna happen because we had to engage. I never forget that we had to even engage with relationships when we was coming up, and a lot of things my grandma didn't even know about. Right. So the thing is but we didn't have the music and the influence out here that was sexually charged. It was everything that was
Really?
taboo. It was a lot of things that was taboo when we was coming up, like getting a lot of tattoos or smoking weed. Pot was like, it was like, oh, you smoking pot. Or it was like, if you was smoking cigarettes, it was like, whoa, like, now everything that was taboo when we was coming up, it's cool now. So these kids are under a different type of peer pressure. So when they go turn on the radio, I hear if I listen to V100, I hear when I listen to V100 after 5 songs, I either want to sell dope, go to a strip club, smoke weed. Like, it's like, damn, after 5 songs, I'm like, it's just the influence is out here, and we have to teach our children the basic principles and ideas of the family. That's all I'm saying. Like, because when they get away from us, the peer pressure is like social media. It's like off the chain. You know what I mean?
And
we that's why I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat with them. I even do TikTok. Y'all see, I be posting TikToks on my page. I'm on there too, because I'm like, what are you doing? I'm gonna watch what you're doing too. Let's do it together. I spend a lot of time with my kids, though. I think time spent is really good too.
And let's be honest. When we was coming up, a song called "Wet Ass Pussy" would not be on the radio.
No, it wouldn't. It would have been banned, and you would have had to go buy the CD, and you would have had to be 18 to buy the parental explicit.
Right. Like I make the joke all the time, and and it's a true story that when you get in my car, we ain't doing nothing but selling drugs and trapping in my car, and I'm the police. That's the music I listen to. But I listen to that music, and when we get out of my car, my kids see me handing out toys at the toy drive, or giving that homeless person that everybody doesn't give $1 to when they walk past them. I give them $3. I don't know what he's gonna do with it, but I still give him $3. They see me going to work. They see me coming home from work. They see me doing nobody wrong. But every time you get in my car, my music is trapping and selling drugs.
I even feel uncomfortable listening to the WAP song with my dog. I can't do it because I'm like, how can I even get into that? And then they sit next to me, and I'm like, and I'm like, oh no. I'm like, no.
One of my twins, I was listening to Snow the Product, and like Mateo comes in and he goes, I can't listen to these words. Turn it off. I'm like, just change the garbage.
All I'm saying is the peer pressure is out here.
Peer pressure is major.
And the drug dealer and hoe culture is celebrated to the point where even decent people love the music. But when our children get older, we don't understand subconsciously we was out here dancing to this music, even though we thought it was dope. But to some people who don't have a moral base or a moral family structure or a moral value to base their decision making off of, they take those lyrics as the Bible, as
Serious,
something
yeah, they
as
do.
a learning tool. So these, maybe you may be a good parent in teaching your kids these things, but it's 20 kids out here who really think Rick Ross and 2 Chainz and Lil Wayne and all these and Megan Thee Stallion is their idol. They want to be just like them. And you're not preparing your kids not only for what's going on inside the house, you got to prepare them for what's going on when they get with their friends who may not have a father or may not have a mother in the house that are as disciplined as they are.
Teach your kids to be an individual. That's exactly, basically what Brother Tory is saying. You have to teach your children to be an individual. You know, just because 15 people at the party decided to take a drink of the Goldschlager, you know, whatever they was drinking back in the day. And I don't know nothing about liquor. I didn't drink. 39, you still came back. Hey, Q, take a shot of this. No, I'm good, bro.
Mad Dog 2020.
Yeah, Mad Dog 2020, Everclear. I ain't started drinking in 39 years, so just because I go to the bar with Tori, he can't hand me a shot of Hennessy. Like, hey, Q, take it. I'm good. No, thank you. You sure, dog? But it's on me, don't work. I'm good. Thank you. I appreciate it, though. Cranberry juice on the rocks, shaken, not stirred. Appreciate you. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to change, you know? And that's why I said, if you ever hear that I got a DWI, I can call 5 people, random people in my phone. What's my drink? Oh, he going to get that cranberry juice. He ain't going to never get a UTI. That's always been the joke about Q, because I was always an individual. That's what my mother taught me to be. That's what I teach my children to be. You don't have to do what everybody else does.
I remember when I taught my son all of these things, and he went to Tech. I had came back from Minnesota and I sent him to Tech. Now, when I left Milwaukee Tech was like the school to go to, principal of the year, everything. So when I come home, I didn't know everything had changed. So I send my son that he was like a 3.8 student, just like his mom. His mama was valedictorian.
Okay.
And so he get to Tech. I remember he came in with his pants hanging low one day. And I was like, Maurice, like, what you doing, bro? Like, he didn't know what I was talking about, but I said, are you a follower or a lead? What you doing? So I had a conversation. I had to check that every time I seen little signs. It's not going to happen all at once. It's going to be little sagging the pants, or I want to wear this, or I'm watching this on YouTube, and they're getting infected with the ideas. And sometimes when your child is infected with an idea, you don't see it until it surfaces. They could have had this ideal in their head. They're going to just wait to make their move. And you got to be so in tune with them that you can notice little changes. Soon as he came in with his pants sagging from school, I knew it. I was like, what? Like, because
let me tell you, I study my kids so hard that all they do is have to walk past me, and I'm like, hold on a second.
Yep.
Something's different. Hold on. And they're like, Mom, nothing. No. Everybody's got a pattern. Everybody in their lives have a pattern. And once I see just a little bit of like discrepancy there, I'm like, hold on a minute. Let me check that. Or even with the music too.
Yes. I do have to say, I want to continue this conversation, but it's going to have to be another show because it's been an hour, and I know that Q's got to get to work. And
you got to go to work in the evening?
Oh yeah, I sleep when I'm dead.
Better drink some soda.
Nah, just water. Just water.
I want to thank Q and Tori very much for this great conversation.
Yeah, thank you very much, for sure.
I really, really appreciate it. You do not know how much this means to me to have not only a good friend, but somebody that is honest and truthful that will come deep dive into these conversations. So I would like to invite both of you to have another show with us very soon. We can plan and set a date where we can talk more about this. I want to talk about BLM and ALM and the culture around this subject.
It's actually going to be called Culture Shock. So when we do that, I definitely would like to have both of you on that for sure. and especially Tori, with you being, such an activist and having to, I follow everything you do. I do. Me and you talk from time to time, but just being able, you too, Quincy, on the opposite end, being able to hear y'all's, opinions of stuff is important to me and Melissa.
Yes. Yes.
Well,
And
just let
I
me know. Very welcome.
Yeah, for
Definitely
sure.
be back. Just my crazy schedule. Let me know ahead of time. I'll make it happen for you, Melissa. You ain't gotta worry about it. I'm gonna pull up for you.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Okay. So I want to thank everybody for watching. And I want to thank all the people that made comments. I know that I was not able to pull them all up, but that doesn't mean that they were ignored. We appreciate all the participation, and we will be back on Wednesday with Candace Sanchez, and she is going to be talking about her book Unspoken. Would you like Elaine to say anything before we end off?
No, I just want to personally thank both of y'all too. And I really like the fact that you guys take parenting so seriously as being dads. Like I said, especially in the minority group, you know what I mean? This really meant a lot for y'all to come on here and for the world to really just see two really, really, really strong Black dads that really care about parenting, that really care about how their kids are raised, that want to do things different than how they were raised. And it kind of throws that stigma off that everybody tries to place on y'all. So I really, really appreciate it. And I just want to say, I hope both of you have a blessed night.
Yes. Safe night, Quincy, Q, and safe night, Tori. Everybody have a safe night and talk to you again on Wednesday. Bye.
God bless.
Bye.
All right, yeah, have a good one now.